Okay, yesterday we were learning about building the sukkah. So a few more details about this. You have to keep in mind about building a sukkah. The Torah says, Chag HaSukkah is tasa locho, which means you have to make a sukkah. A sukkah cannot become made, which means as follows. The main part of the sukkah is the schach. So what happens, let's say you have a frame of a sukkah, and then you put up the frame, not the walls, but the frame, and then you put the schach on top, and then you build the walls. That sukkah is not kosher. Why? Because again, the sukkah is the schach. So when you put up the walls and then you put on the schach, you're making the sukkah. But if the schach is on first and then the walls go up, so then the sukkah is being made. So what you would have to do, if that happens, if by mistake, let's say, you put on the schach before you put up the walls, you'd have to take a broom and go through the whole schach, picking it up from underneath, picking it up and putting it back down, pick up like a tefach, so you put it back down, so then it's like you put back on the schach. People have to keep that in mind, especially if you have these canvas sukkahs with the frame. Sometimes people think, okay, you know it's easy, I'll put up the schach first and then I'll put up the walls. But then you don't have a kosher sukkah. Secondly, lechatchila, a goy is not allowed to put up the schach. A guy could build the walls of the sukkah. That's not the mitzvah of sukkah. The mitzvah of sukkah is the schach. So lechatchila, b'diavad, if a guy did it, it's kosher. But lechatchila, you shouldn't have a guy putting up the schach.
You can move it, right?
You can, yeah. If a guy picks it up, and it's not yom tov, you can't do that. The schach is muktzah on yom tov.
Yeah, but I'm saying you build the sukkah.
Huh?
Build the sukkah.
No. A person who's mechuyev in sukkah, if you're not Shemesh Shabbat, he's still obligated in Sukkah. Especially today, it's not really Mechalo Shabbos. It's Tinik Shenishba, like we discussed. Okay, but you have to make sure when you put up the schach that there's more shade than sun. Otherwise, it's not a kosher sukkah. So you have to make sure really the schach is all over the place. Because if in the middle you have 4 tefachim of empty space, the sukkah is not kosher. I mean, there's a lot of dinim. But the bottom line is you should make sure that the schach is all over the place. And now another thing is like this. L'chatchila, you shouldn't have metal holding up the schach, because metal is mekabel tumah. Metal receives tumah. You shouldn't have what's called maimed the schach. You shouldn't have something holding up the schach, which is something that receives tumah. But, so therefore like this, the walls of the sukkah don't matter. Because the walls is always in the karka, which is not mekabel, which is mekabel tumah. So, but it means, what happens if you have, again, a frame sukkah and you have metal pipes, around, over the top. So you shouldn't lay the schach directly on the metal pipes. What you could do, l'chatchila, which is no problem, you could take a little, let's say, board, 2x4, even smaller, tie it to the metal beam, and then the schach goes on top of the board, so then there's no shaila at all. Not only that, what happens if you want to put down like boards, 2x4s to hold up the schach, you can even nail down the boards to the sukkah and put the schach on top of it, because that's what's called the maimed of the maimed. In other words, the nail is holding the board, and the board is holding the sukkah, so that's not a problem. But directly, l'chatchila, the sukkah should not be on something that's actually receiving tumah. Now, many people have a minhag, most people in fact, you decorate the sukkah. It's called nois sukkah. Chabad doesn't do nois sukkah. We dafka don't do nois sukkah. One second. Nois sukkah means you decorate the sukkah in many places. You go to New York, many Chassidish places, a lot of them, they have unbelievable, stunning sukkahs inside with decoration. In Chabad, the minhag is we don't do it. The reason for that is because the question is, there's a concept of Zeh Keli Van Veil. We say in Oz Yosher, Zeh Keli Van Veil, this is my God, I will exalt him. So the Gemara learns out, Van Veil means he's sna'al the fun of the mitzvahs. Make mitzvahs beautiful. So the Gemara says, you buy a nice tefillin, you buy a nice pair of tefillin, you buy a lulav, you buy a nice lulav. You know, all the things you buy nice. So the question is, do we beautify something with something external? In other words, in Chabad we'll make a beautiful sukkah. But to beautify the sukkah by adding decorations to the sukkah, so then it's not here the mitzvah means to make the mitzvah better, a better talis. If you ever notice, Chabad doesn't have, like many people have the atara, the crowns and the talesim, silver, gold, you know, big ones, little ones. Chabad, we don't have that for the same reason. There's another reason that involves also, but we don't, because the mitzvah itself we make beautiful, we don't beautify the mitzvah with something external. But, by the way, if you put up nice sukkah is muksa all 7 days of sukkahs. So you can't touch it, you can't do anything with it. Okay, now let's get to some dinim of Erev Sukkahs by itself, and then other things like that. Number one, it says in halacha, Erev Sukkahs you should give extra tzedakah, more than regular. That's what it says in halacha. People should make sure to cut the hair and nails before Sukkahs. Not to enter the Yom Tif, the Gemara calls, contrary to many people, long hair and long nails, in the Gemara is called menuval, despicable. So you don't have to have long hair and long nails. So halacha says you have to cut the hair and nails before Sukkahs. In fact, if somebody, let's say, didn't take a haircut before Sukkot, you're not allowed to take a haircut Chol Hamoed. The only time you can read the Mishnah in Meid Cotton, Elam Megalchem B'Yom Tif, meaning the guy with us, he was in prison, and he didn't get out until Chol Hamoed, so because he couldn't take a haircut before, he's allowed to take Chol Hamoed. But nails also like this. You're not allowed to cut your nails during Chol Hamoed unless if you mamish cut them out of Yom Tif. So let's say this year Erev Yom Tov is Monday, right? So let's say you cut your nails on Monday, and then your nails grew again in the middle of Yom Tov, you know, for the last days your nails are, so then you're allowed to cut it. But if you didn't cut them Monday, you cut them a week ago, 2 weeks, whatever, you're not allowed to cut them during Chol Hamoed. And therefore there's another interesting thing. You know, there's a minhag that's called Upsharnish. When a kid turns 3, your first haircut, you give him make a Upsharnish. So what happens if a kid's birthday was Chol Hamoed Sukkos? That's his birthday. Second day of Chol Hamoed Sukkos is his birthday. So now, are you allowed to make an upsharnish during Chol Hamoed Sukkos? No. So the minhag is that you could. Why? He couldn't take a haircut before Sukkos. He wasn't 3 yet. Before 3 you can't take a haircut, and according to that minhag. Pesach, Chol Hamoed Pesach, you can't do it up Shem because of Sfira Sa'omer. It's another issue with Sfira Sa'omer. But as far as Chol Hamoed is concerned, but what happens if a kid's birthday was Erev Yom Tif? Then you cannot make an upsharnish during Sukkot, because he could have taken a haircut before. So now you're not allowed to give him a haircut during Chol Hamoed Sukkot. What?
As far as the nails, you do it on Friday, this type. If you do it on Friday, is it recommended to do on Friday or on which one?
If your nails are long, the covered Shabbos is also in to cut nails.
So which one comes first?
Shabbos is probably more chiv than Yom Tif. But now, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if you take it depends how often you take haircuts. If you take a haircut every week, the Mishnah says in Sanhedrin that a Kohen Gadol took a haircut every week. Every week. Every Erev Shabbos, a Kohen Gadol took a haircut. The Melech, the king, the Mishnah says, "Mistapid b'chol yom." He took a haircut every day. Because the pasuk says, "Melech b'yafi techzan einecha." You have to see a king in his beauty. A king always had to be, in shape, trimmed, so to speak. So a king used to take a haircut every day. It's a very interesting. While we're on the topic, it says in Shulchan Aruch that not that it's asur, but it's preferred that, let's say, you don't cut your nails on a Thursday. Why? Because nails start growing on the 3rd day. even though science will tell you it starts growing right away, it's not a problem because on the third day it sprouts more. Okay? So even though you did it before Shabbos, it doesn't matter. But you're causing it to start growing on Shabbos. So the Taz in halacha in Shabbos says you shouldn't take a haircut on Thursday also for the same reason. You shouldn't take a haircut for the same reason. And the Alter Rebbe in Kutzach writes at Tzarchi and Gadol, you need to really understand because the Melech took a haircut every day. So you can't see the hair only grows on the third day. The hair grows on... But anyway, but again, the concept, the king took a haircut every day. So some people take a haircut every day. Some people take a haircut once a week. Some people take a haircut every 3 months, 4 months, whatever. So if let's say you're a person who takes a haircut once every month or two, so we count every Rosh Hashanah haircut is obviously good for Sukkot too. It's 2 weeks later.
And then you only refer to the hand, not the foot.
Both.
Same day.
So normally it says in halacha, again, yesh noyagin, then halacha Shabbos, yesh noyagin, you don't cut fingernails and toenails the same day. It says in halacha, yesh noyagin, that you don't do it. There's certain cases a woman has to go to mikveh, you could do it the same day. There's certain exceptions to the rule. But sometimes if it's Erev Yom Tiv, so then whatever the situation is, then you would be able to cut them both the same day. But the din of cutting nails applies to fingernails and toenails. Now fingernails, as everybody knows, grows quicker than toenails. Because you use the fingers more. The fingers you use more, by the way, right, doctors? It's not your department. The fingers that you use more, the nails grow quicker. It's factual, but I heard it already. People said that that's why the fingernails grow quicker than the toenails. Because the toenails, you don't use them, you're not using the feet as much as moving the toes, like you do with the fingers. So the fingers, it grows more. Okay, now Erev Sukkot is also proper to go to the mikveh, and from even men to go to the mikveh. Erev Sukkot, like after 3 o'clock or so, says in halacha in the afternoon, you shouldn't eat a lot of food. Shouldn't eat a lot of food. Why? Because you want to be able to fulfill the mitzvah of sukkah, the teyovin. If you're full, then you're not going to be enjoying the food so much. Same thing with Erev Pesach. Erev Pesach, it says in Shulchan you're not allowed to, it says in Gemara also, you're not supposed to eat a lot of food Erev Pesach in the afternoon. Why? Because then when you eat the matzah, you won't enjoy it so much if you're full. So Erev Sukkot Badan halacha shouldn't eat mincha l'mayla. Also, one last thing about this, that the minig is that we bind the lulav together Erev Sukkot in the sukkah. Not halacha, it's a minig that you bind, they'll put the hadasim and the ravas together with the lulav Erev Sukkot in the sukkah.